The amazing success achieved by the oil and gas industry has not come easy. Many of the processes and technologies within the industry have largely been misunderstood by the public as well as spheres of public policymakers initiating regulations. These misunderstandings have led to a new trend of proposed moratoriums in counties across America, even where there is little to no development or production. Now, more than ever, it is important for all stakeholders to understand the implications both environmentally and economically, as well as the unintended consequences that can arise when groups, individuals, and organizations become complacent in their quest for understanding.
Fracking is not new to the industry, it's relatively new to the public, which means you must do an effective job in educating. And I think that the more that the concept of fracking and the more the concept of innovation around this industry grows, we're going to have to do a better job in educating. And so what you see in Boulder, what you see in Longmont is really kind of that nexus of what is this? And we got to better understand it, and really the market continuing, at least the industry continue to be as assertive as they have always been in the industry. So at some point you have to slow down a little bit to allow for the education and allow for the conversations to occur. And I think the industry is getting that, and I think the public has pressed the issue to the point where those conversations have to occur.
This industry is very important to the economy of this state, and if in fact there were a ban on fracking, I think it would be devastating to the Colorado economy.
We have seen a trend in moratoriums, but again, Colorado has been targeted by national groups, so this is not a surprise that we're finding this kind of trend at the local level. They're coming from areas that usually have a little to no activity, and so this is nothing new, and we were waiting for this. But it is, of course, still disturbing that you're having to go out there and try to work through these ballot initiatives. So what we're trying to do is work with these local communities as the best we can. And again, we've got 23 out of 26 have come to some kind of resolution.
The oil and gas community is not alone in facing what seems to be unprecedented scrutiny in its attempts to advance the industry. But it's not just about educating the public. It means educating other leaders and policymakers at the state level who have been voted in as a voice for the people.
What other industries might learn from the water industry is engagement at both the local and the regulatory level. We have spent years outreaching to local communities to try and understand the culture, the politics, their needs, wants, desires, because we're in those communities for the long haul.
It's about education. It's going to be about education of the public policymakers. It's also about education to the public. And the more we seek information, the more I think we'll find grounds, as we have always done in Denver and Colorado, on how we can all function effectively.
We've obviously got regulations already in place. I think the states are doing a spectacular job of working with the industry and the local communities and others to make sure that we're effectively regulating production. And so, at least in the short term, I don't see Washington being as big a player in the overall debate, from a regulatory standpoint on the production side.
As each state has its own distinct geographies and demographics, it has become increasingly important for companies to work with their local legislators to impose regulations that make sense to that state. By working with these legislators, operators can have informed discussions about meeting not only their needs, but those of the communities where they do business.
We need a regulatory framework, which we have in place, to make sure that it's done right. And I think you're going to continually be updating that, based on new technologies, on new, I think, simply on the science of it.
I mean, there's still a lot of mystery out there about how natural gas is produced and what's done. And unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation about what's done. So it does take, we've got to have more direct interaction with elected officials on both sides of the aisle to make sure that conversation becomes more of a national or a state issue, not a partisan issue.
We also, as with the oil and gas industry, live and deal in a highly regulated environment. And so partnering with our regulators, I think, is key to success in achieving our objectives and ultimately having a robust and defensible permitting and regulatory environment that allows us to achieve our goals.
Everybody agrees that there needs to be some regulation. The key to the regulation is to make the transaction costs not too great. And if regulation has low transaction costs and feels fair and is also really, really clear and effective, I think both sides like regulation. So it's not a matter of being for or against regulation, it's about getting regulation right.
As with any issue, it is important for both sides to understand the implications of the positions they take. As we continue to develop fossil fuel resources, it will be important to create informed policies and to implement sensible regulations that take into account both sides of an issue without alienating the other side.
Unfortunately, energy is not a partisan issue. Energy is a national issue. It isn't about whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. It's, are we doing it safely and responsibly? Is it helping to create jobs, drive the economy, lower emissions? Well, the answer is yes on all of that.